Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Vallabha Girivaradari. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitya Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Can you bring me a fourth canto, please? Yes. Right, so Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 11, Lord Ramachandra rules the world, and we'll read text 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just need, one. Okay, so if you could please repeat after me. Apratam Nas Tvaya Kim Nu Bhagavan Bhuvaneshwaraha Yan No Antar Hridayam Vishya Tamo Hamsi Swa Rochisha Apratam Nastvaya Kim Tu Bhagavan Bhuvaneshwara Yanantar Hridayam Vishya Tamohamsi Sarojisha Apratam Nastvaya Kim Tu Bhagavan Bhuvaneshwara Yanantar Hridayam Vishya Tamohamsi Swarochisha Apratam Nastvaya Kim Tu Bhagavan Bhuvaneshwara Yannantar hridayam vishya tamohamsi swarochisha. Karnamrita, I'd like to. Would anyone online like to recite this verse?
Apratam nastvaya kimnu Bhagavan Bhuvaneshwara Yanonantaridayam Vishya Tamohamsi Svarochisha.
Word by word. Apratam, not given. Naha, unto us. Tvaya, by your lordship. Kim, what? Nu, indeed. Bhagavan, O Supreme Lord. Bhuvana Ishvara, O Master of the whole universe. Yet, because. Naha, our. Antahridayam, within the core of the heart. Vishya, entering. Tamaha, the darkness of ignorance. Hamsi, you annihilate. Sarojisha, by your own effulgence. Translation. O Lord, you are the master of the entire universe. So these are the Brahmins replying to Lord Ramachandra. What have you not given to us? You have entered the core of our hearts and dissipated the darkness of our ignorance by your effulgence. This is the supreme gift. We do not need a material donation. Purport. When Dhruva Mahārāja was offered a benediction by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he replied, "O my Lord, I am fully satisfied. I do not need any material benediction." Similarly, when Prahlāda Mahārāja was offered a benediction by Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, he also refused to accept it and instead declared that a devotee should not be like a vaṇik, a mercantile man, who gives something in exchange for some profit. One who becomes a devotee for some material profit is not a pure devotee. Brahmins are always enlightened by the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannavishtamata jnanam apohanam cha. And because the Brahmins and Vaishnavas are always directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are not greedy for material wealth. What is absolutely necessary they possess, but they do not want an expanded kingdom. An example of this was given by Vamanadeva, acted as a brahmachari. Lord Vamanadeva wanted only 3 paces of land. Aspiring to possess more and more for personal sense gratification is simply ignorance, and this ignorance is conspicuous by its absence from the heart of a Brahmin or Vaishnava. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshulan Viditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Gridavachalam Pangam Langa Tegirim Yakipatamaham Vande Shri Gurundaditariram Bancha Kalpadari Pishta Kipasandabheva Chapatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So translation again. O Lord, you are the master of the entire universe. What have you not given to us? You have entered the core of our hearts and dissipated the darkness of our ignorance by your effulgence. This is the supreme gift. We do not need a material donation. So Ramchandra, he gave the whole kingdom, his whole kingdom, to the Brahmins. So it's very inconceivable. And then the Brahmins, they gave it back. They gave it back to Lord Ramachandra. That's also inconceivable. You see how detached Ramachandra is, and see how detached the Brahmins are. And then they continue further, and they say that in today's verse that, what have you not given to us? You've given us the greatest benediction by entering our hearts and dissipating the darkness of ignorance there by your effulgence. This is a supreme gift. We do not need a material donation. So the supreme gift that we can get is to have this ignorance removed from our heart by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of the devotees. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he in Puri Jagannath Puri, would like to hear from Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit is a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. He's one of the Pancha Tattva, members of the Pancha Tattva, and he is said to be incarnation of Srimati Radharani. So Gadadhar Pandit was there reciting Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu really appreciated the reciting of Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit says that the pages of his Bhagavatam were all soaked with his tears because he was just in so much ecstasy reciting the Bhagavatam. And specifically it says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would like to hear of the pastimes of Dhruva Mahārāja and Prahlāda Mahārāja. It says that he'd like to hear that hundreds of times, which is interesting. Maybe some of you have the experience when you were a younger teenager, maybe you liked a particular song and you listened to that song many times in a row. Anyone have that experience? I've done that before. The number of songs. I don't know. Anyways, you listen to it over and over again. You're analyzing the lyrics and instruments and really trying to... But then at one particular point, you're like, all right, I'm going to move on here. Listen to another song. It becomes stale at one point. You've had that experience, Chad? You could tell us later what your favorite... Yeah, you could tell us later what your favorite songs were when you were a teenager. Which ones you listened to 100 times. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu liked to listen to Gadadhar Pandit hundreds and hundreds of times, specifically this past time of Dhruva Mahārāja and Prahlāda Mahārāja. And of course it was their relationship, Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's relationship of relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is really the relationship that Krishna says that the devotees have. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Machita Madgata Prana Puryantas Parasparam. That devotees, they get together and they hear and chant my glories, and in this way they enlighten each other, and they feel great happiness. That's the idea. So he never tired of this. He was never tired. It was always ecstatic to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that mood, although we may have heard about Dhruva Mahārāja many times, we could meditate on him to some degree this morning. In that mood, to whatever degree we can be in that mood. So Dhruva Mahārāja was the son of Uttanapad, who's a great Maharaj, great king. And Uttanapad had, at least what's described in the Bhagavatam, he had two wives, Suruchi and Suniti. And Suruchi was the more beloved one to Uttanapad, in that she was very attractive. He was actually addicted to her association, which was really his downfall. And Suniti, his other wife, was very virtuous. And she wasn't so favored by Uttanapad. And Suruchi's son, Uttama, was one day on the lap of Uttanapad, his father, on the throne. And Dhruva, as a young boy, he wanted to be in the lap of his father. He wanted the affection of his father. So he went to climb on the lap naturally of his father, and Suruchi stopped him. And she said that you cannot sit on the lap of your father. You have to perform austerities and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you have to, in essence, die and take birth from my womb, and then after that you could be allowed to sit on the lap of your father. Very harsh words. Of course, she mentioned worshiping Krishna. That's always good advice, but so very harsh words. You have to die and take birth from my womb, and then you could sit on the father in your lap. In other words, it is impossible for you to sit on the lap of your father. I'm not going to allow it. And what did King Uttanapad, he heard this. It's not that she was whispering to Dhruva. He heard this. But Uttanapad didn't say anything. He was quiet. He was just silent. He didn't protest. And Dhruva Mahārāja, being the Kshatriya, having that warrior blood, he became enraged. He was breathing very heavily. So it was he became angry like a snake that got hit by a stick. Become very angry, breathing heavily. And then he went to his mother, Suniti. And he went in to see his mother, and his mother was asking what the problem was. So Dhruva explained, this is what happened. And Suniti said, because she's very virtuous, she said to him, "My dear son, do not wish Do not wish any pain on any living entity like your mother, like your stepmother, Suruchi, who has offended you. Because those who wish evil on others, those who wish pain on others, are afflicted by that same pain. And she said that your mother, your stepmother, Suruchi, has given you good advice. And it is true that, unfortunately, I am not loved by your father, and I'm not your father's favorite queen. And therefore, I'm neglected by your father, and therefore, because you were born from me, you're also neglected. So what Suruchi said was true, that if you want to be favored by your father, then you should perform austerities. You should worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he could free you from this distressful situation. So Dhruva, while she was saying this, says that her face, which is like a lotus flower, she was crying, telling Dhruva Mahārāja that she was crying. And she was also breathing heavily. So Dhruva, upon hearing this, he went off to make his way to the forest. And before he came to the forest, he encountered Srila Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, he told Dhruva Mahārāja that he asked him, what is the problem? And Dhruva explained. He said that my mother Suruchi has offended me, and I am enraged, and I want revenge. And I want to be in a bigger position, more powerful position than my father and my grandfathers. And I actually want the biggest position in the material world. I want to be the most powerful personality. That's what Dhruva Mahārāja was saying. And Narada Muni told him that when things come in life, difficult times, adversity, so many problems come, you should just tolerate. You should just tolerate. This is what a superior is saying to you. You should just accept it as a will of providence. And he said, and aside from that, and then first of all, Dhruva said, I am a Kshatriya. I cannot accept such instructions. Those are good instructions, but I can't accept them. I want revenge. And Dhruva, or Narada Muni, he continued that, aside from that, you're a young boy. You should just go home and play sports and so on. Just forget about this. And Dhruva said no. As we see that in our lives, we see people who are young, means children, they're engaged in sports, not engaged in God realization generally. And then when they go into their adult life, they're engaged in so many worldly things. And then in their old age, they're regretting. Why did I use my time like that? And they're worrying about the future. And in this way, Shankaracharya, who Srila Prabhupada would sometimes quote, said that hardly anyone's engaged in the pursuit of God realization. So Narada Muni, seeing his determination, he instructed him. So Srila Prabhupada talks about this, Brahmanda Brahmatikon Bhagavan Jiv Guru Krishna Prasada Pai Bhakti Lata Beach, that a soul, a Bhagavan Jiv, a fortunate soul, by the mercy of Krishna, a sincere soul, they come in contact with a spiritual master. And then by the instructions of that spiritual master, by the instructions of that teacher, they are able to attain Krishna, by the mercy of Krishna. So Narada Muni told Dhruva that you should go to the bank of the Yamuna in Vrindavan, Madhuvan. It's one of the places in Vrindavan. And he said there you should bathe in the Yamuna 3 times a day. and you should perform Ashtanga yoga and engage and sit on your asana and engage in breathing exercises. And you should meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, you should meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, I was going to get to that point. Let's see here. So then Narada Muni, he started to describe Krishna. Let's say Vishnu. So I'll just read a few verses. The Lord's face is perpetually very beautiful and pleasing in attitude. To the devotees who see him, he appears never to be displeased. Do you ever look at Krishna and the Radha Giridhar and they seem to be displeased? I don't know, maybe. But here it's saying that he never appears displeased. And he's always prepared toward benedictions to them. His eyes, his nicely decorated eyebrows, his raised nose, and his browed forehead are all very beautiful. He is more beautiful than all the demigods. The Lord's form is always youthful. Every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul. And anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is an ocean of mercy. So he goes on describing, this is 4th canto, chapter 8, starting with text 45. It's 4:8:45. So he says you should meditate upon that personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you should chant, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he was engaged like that, he was chanting. And you should also meditate on the different pastimes of the incarnations, of the different incarnations. So in this way he instructed him. So although Dhruva was wanting revenge and he was angry, he still had humility. He wasn't so proud that he couldn't accept instructions. To be so proud that one cannot accept instructions, that is very unfortunate. So Dhruva, as a disciple, he was humble in that sense that he could accept instructions. And that's an important thing to always note, that to be a disciple of, or grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada, or a disciple of a disciple, or a disciple of a disciple of a disciple, whoever a person becomes initiated by, because now it's like you have Prabhupada, then you have his disciples, and then you have their disciples, and in some cases you have their disciples, like Keshava Swami. It's Jayadvaita Swami, and then Kadambakana, it's Prabhupada, and then Jayadvaita Swami, and then Kadambakana Swami, and then Keshava Swami. So whoever person gets initiated by, it's so important to always remember that one has to be very humble, and that they take instructions, and that they give credit to their spiritual master. We can't just, in the name of Krishna consciousness, do so many things and not give credit to who deserves credit. So Dhruva Mahārāja is very humble. And he started engaging in this way. And then Narada Muni, he went back to speak with Uttanapad, and he asked him, because he saw that Uttanapad was looking very depressed. And then he asked Uttanapad, what is the problem? And Uttanapad said that I'm addicted to Suruchi. And due to my addiction, I have neglected my son, who is a wonderful devotee of Krishna. I've offended him. And now he's left. And I am scared for his well-being because he's out in the forest and I don't know about his eating, and there might be dangerous animals out there, and I am just fearful for him. And I feel so terrible. He was telling Narada Muni that. And Narada Muni said, do not worry. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is protecting your son. And he said that in due course of time, even now already, your son's fame is being spread throughout the universe, which in time will spread your fame throughout the universe. So he engaged in this way, Dhruva Mahārāja, meditating, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, meditating on Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And while he was meditating one day, said he had his eyes closed, and then he opened his eyes, and then the object of his meditation was there, means Vishnu was there. And as we heard all of these, at least a few of these wonderful descriptions of Vishnu, and there's more descriptions. So just, of course, we hear about Krishna, the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was there before him. And Dhruva was saying that I was searching for broken glass in the form of a kingdom, in the form of a position greater than anyone. But now I have your darshan, which is like a divya ratna. It's a divine jewel. And he said, now I'm fully satisfied. So in this way we see that, and then he offers so many prayers, continuing offering so many prayers in the Bhagavatam. And there's more to the history of Dhruva Mahārāja. He goes on to become the ruler. Krishna puts him in that position. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he really relished this particular pastime of Dhruva Mahārāja, and it's a real success story in that Dhruva Mahārāja was full of material desire, like the desire that Dhruva Mahārāja, the Dhruva had, was just inconceivable. It's not that he just, I've mentioned a number of times, but not that he just wanted to live in a better place here and there and have a few resort mansions around the world and this and that, but he actually wanted everything. But by the power of surrendering to the instructions of Narada Muni and by the power of his sincerity and meditation, he became completely free from all material desires and love with Krishna. So sometimes we may feel that how can I ever become a pure devotee? How can I ever actually awaken my love for Krishna? I have so many material desires. Does anyone ever feel like that? I have so many material desires. I have so many things that are keeping me away from Krishna. I have so many objects of meditation that are keeping me away from Krishna. So how will I ever become a pure devotee? But we should always remember that Dhruva Mahārāja, he had a lot more material desires than us. They're inconceivable. So, but by him surrendering to the process of bhakti and by his sincerity and so on, he was able to become free of all of those. So we also have that opportunity that we may have so many other desires, but we can become free from all of those material desires, and our only desire is just to serve Krishna, to serve our spiritual master, to serve the devotees in so many different ways. So taking all of those material desires that we may have, which may be a lot, dozens or hundreds or thousands, millions maybe. All of those desires can be transferred. I mean, the principle of desire can be transferred to service to Krishna and the devotees and our spiritual masters. And that there's unlimited things we can do for the glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's the idea of a disciple. They make their heart or their mind one with the instructions of the spiritual master. There's no form of neglect, no form of pushing oneself forward. There's giving all credit to the spiritual master and making one's mind one with instructions. And their desire is to have, for example, we sing to Srila Prabhupada that may your fame be spread throughout the three worlds. That's the translation. May your fame be throughout the three worlds. Which means, may your glories be known. So in other words, they want to introduce people to Srila Prabhupada and his glories. That's the idea. So yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this so many times, so we could also hear so many times. This is a very brief, feeble recitation of the part of the pastime, but there's a lot. There's so much going on there in every verse and every purport, Srila Prabhupada's purports, and then there's many chapters and the prayers and so on. So we could meditate. Actually, do like a Dhruva Mahārāja seminar, many days and all the different points and prayers and so on. But that's a brief idea. So, all right. Does anybody have any question, comment?
In a moment of strife, when a person that you love or you respect doesn't say anything, it's almost worse than when they say something. How do you work through that?
Like if somebody doesn't say something?
Yeah, like they don't stand up for you, they don't take your side, and if it's a person that you respect or love or honor does that to you, how do you work through that pain?
I see, okay. Yeah. Yeah, recently I was talking with some devotees about this. In our long conversation, a few hours we were speaking about different things, but 4, yeah, to be exact. A little under 4, almost 4. But that could be, yeah, it's very challenging because when we have some affection for someone or some respect for someone or some relationship with someone, then we may expect that they stand up for us or they stand up for truth or they don't just remain silent. And I mean, in relation to this, it's very difficult because when we talk about human interactions and the complexities of human relationships, it's like really, really like complex. Like it is just amazingly complex. Practically, it's inconceivably complex. And it may seem very simple on the surface, like someone not wanting to wash pots, for example, like a brahmachari not wanting to wash pots, for example. It may seem like a very simple thing, like, oh, I don't want to wash pots. But there's like, it goes way deep, like into like who knows how their parents treated them when they're growing up, or some like pride thing, or I mean, it could go really deep. It's not just like a simple thing. So if someone has not said something, there may be many reasons why they didn't say something. It may be true that maybe they don't have as much affection or trust or strong relationship with us as we think. That might be there. Or maybe due to political reasons or other people being around, there might be some reasons they don't say something. Maybe they were so shocked by the incident or statement that they just froze up. And there's a number of other reasons why they may not have said something. But therefore I think that before we fully make a conclusion, we can discuss with them. Try to have an open discussion. What were you thinking? Why didn't you say something? Kind of have a discussion about it. Just like if somebody commits or supposedly commits a criminal act, we want to meet in a court, and then there's a judge there, and there's a whole process of communication that goes on. So yeah, it's very difficult to understand what's going on in people's minds. So I think it's good to have an open discussion about it. That's one thing. And that's something that's lacking a lot, I think. People don't have discussions with people. Now, if we are 100% sure that, like absolutely sure, without a doubt, maybe by discussing with the person or based on other convictions, like we're absolutely sure that this person just didn't stand up for me and we think they should have, that's obviously a break or a crack in the relationship. And that is very disheartening, and it can shows, first of all, the imperfection of ourselves as humans and our inability to have a perfect relationship with anybody. I mean, talk to anybody. Does anybody have a perfect relationship with anybody? But it hints on that, or it points to that human relationships are never going to be perfect. The only relationship that's going to be perfect is with oneself and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So we could take it as an opportunity to take shelter of Krishna, and if we take shelter of Krishna, then he will help us with that pain process, or getting free of that. But ultimately, we have to forgive people. If we don't forgive people, we're just living with all of that pain. We're just carrying it around with us. It's interesting because a lot of the people that offend people, they just forget about it. It's just like, and then we're just like living with it. And then like they forgot about it like completely. Or maybe they didn't even notice. Like they just didn't notice. And we're just like living with it. Maybe for years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whole life. It's amazing. So we have to forgive. That's a whole process of forgiving someone. But based on the severity of things, there's obviously a break in the relationship, and we may want to associate with other persons more closely on that basis. But we can't like close off our heart, if you want to say that, because there's always fear, there's always a risk that by opening your heart to somebody or people, that they're going to just destroy it or damage it. The risk is always there. So what people do sometimes is because that's such a risk, they just don't open their heart to anybody. But existing in that way, what does that mean? That means you're just living a very selfish life. Because if we're not extending ourselves to others, then who's left? Me. So that means it's all about me. There was a show when we were young kids. I think it was What About Me? It was a little movie that my sister loved for some reason. And parents had a new baby, and the parents were giving all attention to the new baby, and they're kind of neglecting the older baby a little bit. So the whole movie was the older kids were singing, "What about me?" But then they realized that, it was kind of a happy ending, they realized that, it's my beloved little baby, my little baby sisters. I just care for them too. I shouldn't be so absorbed in me. But if we just close ourselves off to everybody, then the only person left is us, and then we live a selfish life. And the problem with living a selfish life is we just close ourselves off, and our heart becomes very cold and very hard. Hard heart, cold heart. It's amazing, actually, how cold and hard people's hearts can become. It's like no compassion, no sense of remorse, in the sense of really feeling other humans suffering. So there's always that risk, but we're advised to try to extend ourselves, and even though that may be risky, just like people get married, that's a big risk. You're sharing your life with someone, and just people have friends, they've developed some friendships, it's a risk. People accept disciples, huge risk, because the disciples are supposed to be a natural relationship of appreciation and respect and all of that going on. But then the disciple turns on you, or they turn on Krishna consciousness, or what to speak of in America. Sometimes the disciples become so, excuse me, I was going to maybe use a nicer word, but they become so disrespectful that even though the guru may have given them so much, they just turn on them and they create websites about them, how bad they are. It means how bad their previous guru is. So that's taking a big risk. So whatever the situation is, we have to take risks, or else we're just going to be alone. And that's not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. So that was quite a extended, so I hope there's some points there. But yeah, in terms of dealing with that pain, ultimately we just have to take shelter of Krishna. That's the real solution. We may be feeling so much suffering, and like I was mentioning the other day, we have to look towards Krishna. We may be depressed, we may just be discouraged, we may be going through different types of mental issues or pains in our relationships, whatever, but we look at Krishna. Krishna smiling there, Radharani smiling, and then we try to offer some service, and we try to take the meditation away from our suffering condition and just go to Krishna, and then we become happy. In association with Krishna, somebody becomes happy. And Krishna, by the mercy of Krishna, just like it says here, he purifies the hearts, he enlightens the hearts. So similarly, Krishna will enlighten our heart. He'll give us the intelligence to work through things and to, be pacified and so on. Of course, this is just a short answer, and people give seminars on such questions. There's a forgiveness seminar by Mahatma Prabhu. I think it's good. It's many classes, but it's nice to listen to those types of things as well. Chad, you had something?
Hare Krishna. Actually, that was a very nice answer. So back to the story of Dhruva Mahārāja. He meditated and chanted, but he also perform severe austerities.
You want to perform severe austerities?
Well, can you talk a little bit about the importance of performing austerities in the process of bhakti yoga and the importance of it?
Yeah. So austerity, Srila Prabhupada, when Tamal Krishna Goswami, he had a dream. He went to have a surgery in Bombay, and Srila Prabhupada went to stop the surgery because he thought it better he'd do it in America. So when he woke up from after his surgery, he was there and Prabhupada was there. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami told Srila Prabhupada had a dream. And in my dream, you were giving reports to the previous acharyas. Srila Gaurkishordas Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, previous acharyas. And you were telling them that people in this age are not very qualified. They have a hard time performing austerity, they have a hard time so many different things. And you were telling them that, but they have one good qualification, is that whatever I say, means Srila Prabhupada was speaking to the acharyas, whatever I say, they will do their best to execute that. They will try their best and they'll follow me. And then that was his dream. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami was asking what Srila Prabhupada thought of that dream. He said, yes, that's true. So our ability to perform austerities is not very strong. Still, in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter, what is it? The austerities are mentioned. 17, there's austerities of the mind, austerities of the body, austerities of the speech. So we could read about these austerities and we could try our best to try to follow them. Rising early is an austerity, following the principles, chanting 16 rounds. Living in a society, a Hare Krishna society, that might be an austerity. Living in the brahmacharya ashram, that might be an austerity. So we all have our austerities that we're doing. So we just try our best and no need to do any severe austerities. Just the basic ones are okay in this age. Ultimately, the process is Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatunata. That there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way besides chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So that's the main practice. So we don't want to see you doing anything too wild, okay? We walk outside and Chad's standing on one leg, drinking barley water for breakfast or something. So yeah, There was a devotee in Mayapur who was living in a tree. And he was just eating very little, sleeping very little, and chanting Hare Krishna. And devotees, they heard about this, and they told Prabhupada, and they were trying to get a good response from Prabhupada. What do you think about this, Prabhupada, type of thing? Because the sannyasis they're trying to get Prabhupada a little riled up and say something. But Prabhupada wasn't saying anything. A couple walks like that. And eventually the devotees, they kept on. Prabhupada, so what do you think about this, and this devotee's doing this? And this devotee said that he liked this program of staying in a tree, and then Prabhupada said, he said, this is Maya. He's on his own program. He's making stuff up, concoction. And then Prabhupada went into this. Okay. So devotees got what they wanted. Yes. But then what happened was he was chanting so much and everything, and then devotees saw him many years later, and they asked him about the program and everything, him chanting so much. And he said, yeah, I chanted so much at that time, I feel I don't need to chant anymore. So that's what he said. Yes, Vanessa?
Thank you, Prabhu, for a really wonderful class.
Thank you for
I
listening.
really appreciated the a topic of bringing up Dhruva Mahārāja and his pastimes. I was also thinking in relation to the current pastime of Lord Ramachandra, how Dhruva was an ideal king. Mm-hmm. And in chapter 12 especially, there's so many like relative to our current reading, but you know, he practically emptied his treasury by giving charity, which, you know, he was setting an example to the people, and gave all of his wealth, and also just being considered by them to like be the father, the direct father of all the citizens. Mm-hmm. And it even talks about how his heart melted, you know, in performance of devotional service. So that's just super relevant, I think, to the brahmanas in receiving the gift. A devotee of the Lord being, you know, especially with Dhruva being essentially kind of conquering the Lord, very, very much akin to Lord Ramachandra. So
yes,
thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your comment. Okay, Jai. Granted, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.